Hello and welcome to a new video here on Up to the Nines. This time audio only because I don't really feel like setting up the camera now. You will have some clicking because I'm on the PC right now. And as you can read in the title, we're going to discuss the Fallout 4 official trailer that was released this morning. At least in Germany. I don't, it depends on where you are at the moment. I have to put some money away because I apparently have that. So I've just let me get something out of the way before I start discussing the trailer and what I think about it. And why am I discussing it? Fallout is my muse, basically. Like it's the most important game series, I think, or like Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas are. I've played and I own the first one, the second one, and Fallout Tactics. Didn't get into those too much because like they're very different than the games. Like I started with Fallout 3, so they're very different than what I got into with the series. But I adore the lore and story behind those games. So don't get me wrong on that part. It's just the gameplays. Like I'm a gamer who's basically like dead set. Everything before 2004 isn't like up to my fucking standards anymore. And I know that sounds kind of retarded, but it's just my personal sensibility. So yeah, the new trailer. So I loved the games, and I think Fallout 3 was an excellent game. Like great atmosphere, fun gameplay. The story was kind of lacking, but it at least had fun and interesting quest ideas. Like pretty random, and I got really into the universe and the whole idea of basically mixing and combining like these ideas of the 1950s sci-fi ideas. Basically the idea of having a universe where what would have happened if we had a universe in which the ideas people had in the 1950s about the future and the possible apocalypse in the future just were true. Like we had the technology they imagined, and then there came a great war and we were stranded in apocalypse. And that's what Fallout basically is. So really loved this game. Then Fallout New Vegas came along, which wasn't developed by Bethesda. Like Bethesda is developing the fourth game now. And New Vegas was done by Obsidian, which has a lot of people, for Chris Avellone, for example, who worked on the first games, and you noticed that because they brought a lot of stuff they planned for the original Fallout 3, the game called Van Buren. Project codename Van Buren, Fallout 3. They brought a lot of that stuff, for example, Caesar's Legion and the whole expanded NCR stuff. They brought that into the game. It was really cool because you had all the things you liked about Fallout 3 combined with a more complex way of doing quests with a lot of branching quest ways. You could do quests a lot of different ways, which wasn't really possible in Fallout New Vegas. There were basically only like 2 options in every quest, and the main quest was pretty set in stone. Like there weren't many things you could do different with the main quest, really. I mean, like the only decisions you had were go into the chamber, don't go into the chamber, and if you use the FEV virus, the forced evolutionary virus. That's it, basically. New Vegas had brought a lot more of like decision making and intelligent quest design and more interesting side characters with actually a lot of story and quests on their own. Basically expanded on everything Fallout 3 already did and changed some things. So, for example, the atmosphere in New Vegas was noticeably different than it was in Fallout 3. Fallout 3 basically felt like this desert, glum apocalypse, like you can imagine. With very grey and dark overtones everywhere, with slavery and no real organized leadership anywhere, really. Like the only kind of edge of civilization you had were the Enclave and the Brotherhood of Steel, and those weren't really like, they hadn't established themselves really. They were just like kinda getting along, trying to do something. In New Vegas it was different because you had a lot of different factions who already were established, like they already had backstories and struggles you didn't even like come across before the game started. So, and then the whole game was more about civilization finally doing the final step in rebuilding itself. Like basically whoever won or profited of the Battle of Hoover Dam would set the course of what the world would look like. If the NCR won, if you did your thing, Caesar's Legion won, if Mr. Housed, everyone had plans for the future, and you basically could shape basically the face of the American West in whatever you preferred from those options you had. Though that was great. Like at the beginning, I was kind of skeptical of New Vegas because like the atmosphere was so different. It wasn't as glum and depressing anymore. But after a while, I fucking adore New Vegas, and I still adore Fallout 3 because they're both fantastic games. Now we have Fallout 4, and a first trailer was released, and I'm not judging the game at this point. I mean, I can't. I can just judge the trailer, and I can just discuss some themes shown in the trailer. And what I think about them, like if I think, like some precautions I might have, or some things that might go wrong, might go right. So I just have to get the trailer up and running so I can orientate myself on that. For official trailer, so I will mute the thing. So the whole thing starts off with basically us showing like us showing pre-war America, which I really like that. It's pretty epic because you rarely get like a look into what the Fallout universe actually looked like before the war. I've fucking read the lore from beginning to end, but it's still nice to see this. The Fallout 3 trailer had similar stuff in it with like the live action stuff where they actually showed this Vault-Tec commercial, which was pretty cool. We have the dog again. So apparently the dog is going to be like a bigger feature now. Again, I think it would be interesting if you had like actually worked out mechanics for the dog, where you could like, I mean, you could do that kinda like with the already existing games, like send them out to scavenge stuff. But I mean, like really, like being able to interact with the dog would be pretty interesting. I think if you could utilize him as a more special companion than you had before, not just letting him carry stuff. And hey, did you found a stim pack for me? So we have the whole thing like with the way you discuss the house. Then we see some pre-war America stuff, how people go into Vault 111. They changed how the vault door looks, which let me just get it out of the way. I'm not a fan of the art style decisions they made with this. Like the almost comically bright colors and the stuff where they changed the basic designs of a lot of things. You can see it if you look at the Deathclaw, for example, looks pretty nice. But the Protectron, you can see, I don't like the redesign. I mean, there were yellow or yellowish Protectrons before, but I just don't like the design they used here. Same goes for the vault doors or the jumpsuit the main character has, which orientates itself more on like the first two games, where the suits were a lot more tight-fitting, which I think is just impractical and silly, to be honest. How they did it, or how they managed it in Fallout 3 and New Vegas was it made a lot more sense, because they were basically like jumpsuits, just like mechanical jumpsuits, which were rugged and would hold up for a long fucking time, and you could get them dirty and shit, and it wouldn't matter. Like, you can move in those things freely. Like, with something tight-fitting, I don't know, not a big fan of it. It also doesn't look like it's like the previous jumpsuit from 3 and Vegas looked like they were made of some kind of jeans fabric. This doesn't. I don't know. I'm just not a fan of the jumpsuit. And then, like, we see a lot of Brotherhood guys, or at least people in power armor, like Brotherhood power armor, standard military issue power armor, which I'm like. The Brotherhood portrayed in Fallout 3 is actually, you will notice this if you play New Vegas for a bit, it's actually not like what the Brotherhood actually does. Like in Fallout 3, the whole Brotherhood is portrayed as this like stereotypical Hollywood good guy kind of organization, like the guys with the big guns who want to help the wasteland rebuild itself and protect the people, and that's not what the Brotherhood actually is. The Brotherhood is this reclusive, exclusive society of people who want basically to take technology from people because they think everyone else is too fucking stupid to deal with technology. And they will kill people over that. They will fight wars. They have had wars with the Enclave before, with the NCR before. They have fought against the Caesar's Legion. Basically everyone in the fucking wasteland hates the fucking Brotherhood. So I don't know if they want to try to make those into good guys again. If they do that, they have to explain it pretty well, that it's connected again to like the Elder Alliance from the third game, because it's pretty unusual for the Brotherhood to act in that kind of way. Enclave will, I think, be present again, because we see vertibirds, and of course the Brotherhood has some vertibirds they stole from them, but you can see in like the one screenshot, we'll see at which second it pops up. When you see like the town at 1 minute 50 seconds, you have like an enlist poster with the American flag, and in the city itself you see a shop which has an American flag symbol there. So the Enclave seems to be like some sort of present force in the wasteland still in this part. And just getting to talk about the setting, it's Boston, like that is what was rumored a while ago. I'm kind of disappointed because I was still hoping, however unlikely, that it would be New Orleans. But okay, now it's apparently Boston, Massachusetts, which what we know about Boston, Massachusetts from the third game is that the Institute, which is like the remnants of the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, like is this ultra highly developed organization who can you can develop robots in the usual Fallout universe, but they actually produce artificially intelligent androids who look human and stuff. So like technology people didn't even have before the war. So really high developed. Maybe the Enclave is behind that. It would make sense, to be honest. So yeah, that's what we know about the city. Aside from that, I don't think Boston is that much of an exciting setting, to be honest, but I will see what they make out of it, because you could have said like the same thing about like New Vegas, because like, oh, it's okay, Vegas is pretty interesting, but then there's just fucking desert. Or for the third game, okay, the National Mall is pretty interesting, and there are some interesting historical buildings, but aside from that, it's just greenish boringness. Virginia, Maryland, I don't know. So let's see what they do out of it, what they do with it. I mean, if it's Boston, there has to be Harvard in it too, which I think that's probably the most interesting part, that they will have Harvard and the big university complexes in the city or around the city somewhere. And that, what was I going to say? The university complexes, and that they will have skyscrapers, which you can see in the trailer. Skyscrapers will be interesting if you can go really high up. Yeah, those are basically like some of my positive points. Like, they can do something with the setting. I'm not totally disappointed with this. It was kind of expected. I already wrapped my head around that. Now really getting to the things that get on my fucking nerves. So the art style redesign is meh. It's not terrible, but just not to my personal liking at this point. But things I really dislike are, for example, the ghouls, which we see in one scene in the Super Duper Mart. I guess it's a Super Duper Mart, some kind of supermarket. Those just look like fucking zombies. I mean, ghouls were kinda zombie-ish, but it's not the same. Like, these just look like plain fucking zombies out of your run-of-the-mill fucking zombie game, like Dying Light or Left 4 Dead or something. Like, they just look like zombies, and they especially remind me of like the vampires quote unquote from I Am Legend, and I don't know what to think about that. I just dislike the design. Maybe there's something different, but just from seeing if those are ghouls, I fucking hate those designs. Other things, we have the USS Constitution, the AKA, I coined it the pirate ship in one of my other videos on another channel. Yeah, so okay, of course you have like landmark things out of Boston, like for example the USS Constitution, which is like this old warship from like the 1812 war against England. But are those fucking jet engines mounted to the side of this fucking thing? If yes, and if this thing can actually fly, which I think it can, because just look where it is placed, like on buildings. How would this ship from the bay get there? If this thing can fucking fly, where the fuck are we now? Is this fucking World of Warcraft or what? This would be fucking stupid and totally not lore friendly and fucking retarded. I mean, Fallout has some wacky retarded shit sometimes, but this just doesn't fit in with the lore at all. If this shit can fly, Jesus. Okay. Another flying thing is like the airship, which I guess belongs to the Brotherhood or something, or the Enclave. I don't know. Did you see at 1 minute 56 seconds? Over this statue of this... I forget the fucking name. I can't remember all the fucking monuments in Boston. Like the airship. Airships, of course, man. I mean, you can have everything, like basically any futuristic stuff in this game. And it would make sense because Fallout just has no fucking rules when it comes to science, really. It has some, but yeah, basically Tesla technology works now. This thing looks like a Zeppelin. Honest to God, fucking Zeppelin. And a Zeppelin doesn't really fit in with my lore sensibilities when it comes to like the era Fallout is trying to pay homage to with the 1950s and early 60s. Zeppelins were not like, you know, like they can basically, if it was some kind of B-17 bomber looking thing or something totally like out of the ordinary futuristic, but this Zeppelin looking thing strikes me as just too steampunky for Fallout, and I just dislike that design too. Skipping through. So yeah, Brotherhood, I said it already. I don't think Brotherhood should be like a big part. Like I think it's okay if they're like a faction in the game, but yeah. Then at the end we see like we come by this garage where like the dog from the beginning runs around. We see the suit of power armor. We also see like the guy before the war wearing and stuff, and a couple of energy weapons. And then we see the new Vault Dweller from World 111 meeting with the dog, and it's probably his dog, and he greets him like with "Let's go, pal," which means like the protagonist, at least in this trailer, has a voice. Here's the thing, New Vegas, like the Courier, had some backstory, but nothing that really defined his character. In contrast with what Fallout 3 had, because Fallout 3 had extensive backstory to the character, and you even knew your dad, and like family members popped up, and the people you grew up with, and all that stuff. And it really learned a lot about your character, so that means there's less room for role-playing, really. Like, less in the way where you can actually personally design your character. Which, to me, is not good. Because I like the New Vegas way better, where I can just basically start my character from scratch. Like, his disposition towards the various events is not in any way suggested to me in the game. And if this is a talking protagonist, and if they're trying to do the same railroading through the main storyline they did with Fallout 3, which Fallout 3's main quest was not that good. Like, the plot was pretty sketchy and didn't make that much sense, to be honest. It's a pretty shitty story. Fallout 3 had other pretty amazing strong points, but the story definitely was fucking retarded in some instances. Or in all instances. I don't know. And, like, I don't want a talking character like that is predefined to me in a role-playing game, just as like Fallout. I don't want that. So if they do that, that would probably be the most terrible thing they could do, I think. Because just seeing from like the quest Bethesda has done with the Elder Scrolls series and with their pre-existing Fallout, that shit will hit the wall so hard, and it won't probably be a pretty good and interesting or in-depth quest in any kind of way. Because Fallout 3 basically had no real interesting message. Fallout New Vegas had a couple of messages. Even like every add-on had a different... Every downloadable every DLC item had its own like message and interesting plot to it. but Bethesda apparently isn't able to do that, so I don't know about that. Now some speculation I've heard about what this is going to be about, and I actually think like one theory is actually pretty sound, which is that because you see like the guy with the power armor all over the game, like the same suit of power armor the Vault Dweller has at the end in his garage, and we see like this cutting between like the pre-war and the after-war, the post-war, whatever you want to call it. It would actually make kind of sense if maybe, like, that's what people have suggested, if Vault 111 had the experiment of cryogenically freezing people, which like, or some kind of advanced method of keeping people alive for a long time, because like the Institute might have some hand in that, like yeah, like I said, they're pretty advanced. So that might be it, like the baby we see at the beginning with the parents. That might be like our main character. Or you could also say like the baby they have in their arms in the beginning is the baby that dies in the nuclear blast at the end. I don't know. It's just an idea, and I think that would be a pretty interesting idea if our main character was actually born before the war, or if the game would start out with us just like the chaos in which people moved to the vaults. That would be pretty interesting. So in general, just to summarize all my feelings about this trailer, it's not the end of the world now, but there are a lot of things that make me kind of worried, because this is probably my favorite game series of all time. I just don't want it to fuck up or take a step back from what New Vegas has achieved. I want this to be like just as much a perfect role-playing game as New Vegas and in part Fallout 3 were. So I hope they take the lessons into consideration New Vegas told them, and that what New Vegas improved about the main game. So yeah, and I hope they do something about the fucking art style. I mean, this is like the first trailer, so there might be changes in the future. I hope they do something to tone the. I mean, colorful isn't bad, but like tone it down a fucking bit, please, and make maybe the city a bit more interesting. I mean, just fucking rust huts or rust houses aren't like the most interesting fucking stuff. This just looks like your run-of-the-mill apocalypse setting. Oh, it's Mad Max or some kind of shit. So maybe make that a bit more interesting. Yeah, that's basically my opinion about the first trailer we have here. We'll see what the future holds. I'm not totally pessimistic now. I'm just, my hype has been killed a bit by this trailer, to be honest, because there are too many things I have to worry about now. So see you in the future, and prepare for the future. What a terrible joke.